now.
All right, here we go.
Let's take.
This is on video, so let's get home, okay? YouTube.
Sorry, I'm tired.
I know. It's okay. All right, here we go. We're on our note sheets. And we are going to, we're on page 11. And we're down there where it says section 1.5. So everybody's got your note sheets out. Scott, are you ready?
Yep.
I thought you were going to have the boot off today.
I had to get back on.
Oh, bummer. I'm sorry about that, but I'm so glad you're in uniform. Thank you.
Oh.
Okay.
Somebody lied.
All right, so we are going to find the inverse. That's what that crazy looking notation means. This means the inverse of f of x. So f of x is some function. Let's just look at our first one. It is 2x plus 1. And we are going to find the inverse. Now, you did this last year, but you may not remember. So in a minute, we're going to see what it means to be the inverse. But right now, I want to show you how to find it. All right, so these are the steps you're going to go through. No matter how hard or easy the problem is, these are the steps you're going through. First of all, you learned a long time ago that f of x is the same as y. Do you remember that? You can always replace f of x with y. Now, the second step is, this is the biggie, switch your x's and y's. So instead of y equals 2x plus 1, we're going to have x equals 2y plus 1. You'll see why in a minute. Inverses undo each other. So what used to be x mapping onto y is going to become y mapping onto x. We switch our variables. Once you get your variables switched, get y by itself. So just start solving this to get y by itself. So we'll subtract 1 first. And then we'll divide by 2. So the inverse works out to be x minus 1 over 2. Now, let me show you what it means to be an inverse. First of all, does anybody have a question about anything so far? All right, let's go back. Here's the original problem. Suppose I said to you, let's let x be 3. Okay, what would you get? If you put 3 in for x, what would you get out of here? What would that equal?
7.
7. Okay, now I want you to come over here and I want you to put 7 into this thing. What happens when I put 7 into my inverse?
3.
Oh my goodness, look what happens. In the original, 3 got changed into 7. And then in the inverse, that 7 got changed back into 3. They undid each other. You ended up right back where you started. 3 became 7, but then the 7 went back to being 3. The x's and y's got switched. Remember this step when you switched your x's and y's? Well, look at these ordered pairs. What happened? The x's and y's got switched. All right, let's try the next one. Here's the original problem, and your job is to find the inverse. All right, so who remembers from the example we just did? What are we going to do first?
Y.
Yep, we're going to change our f of x to y. And we're doing that so that we can do the next step, which is what? What's the next step?
X.
Switch x and y. So make it x equals 3y minus 1. And And now we do whatever we have to do to get y by itself. So what would you do first here to get y by itself? Times by 2, times by 2. So 2x equals 3y minus 1. All right, then what? You're getting y by itself.
Add 1.
Add 1. And then,
Divide by 3.
so your inverse is 2f inverse equals 2x plus 1 over 3. Anybody have a question about that? All right, would you try C on your own? See if you can find the inverse for C. Problem C. See if you can remember the steps. If you can't, maybe your neighbor can help you.
Take that from each.
7 is the answer for
This is the answer right here.
oh, that one.
Really trying to that.
No, this is the answer to that one. This was just I was showing you what it meant to be an inverse.
Oh,
So the answer is the equation.
Trace it up.
Okay, so what do we do first? When we get our y in the problem, first of all, we gotta put a y in there so that we can switch, right? So there's the switch. Then what do?
Get y by itself.
Start messing around, getting y by itself. So that'll be 9x equals 4y plus 2. Now what? Subtract 2, good. And then divide by 4. So there is our inverse. Anybody get that on your own before I started talking?
Yeah, I kind Well, you do not put 9 fourths minus a half.
You can. If you wanted to rewrite that as 9/4 x minus a half, you absolutely could. There's no need to do that though, so don't be confused, those of you that are up for don't worry about it. But that would be another correct answer. All right, how about D? Oh my, it looks a little bit different. But we are not afraid. We are not afraid of this. What do we do first? I've already taken care of my y. I already got my y. So now what do I do? No, not yet. What do I do first? Switch them. I got to do the switch. Don't forget that step. So I'm going to switch my x and y. Now I'm supposed to be getting y by itself, right? But it's under a radical. So what am I going to have to do? Square both sides. Now, what happens when I square a radical? Cancels out and leaves me with y minus 2. So y equals x squared plus 2. And that's my inverse. Philip, you look dazed. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. I got it.
Okay. Now, E is a tough one. E is going to be a test question, going to be a quiz question. It's going to be something. on problem E. What's the first step?
Swap.
Swap. All right. Now, every x becomes a y. So I know there are two of them, but they both become y's.
Multiply by 3y minus 4.
Very good, Geechee. Thank you for paying attention. We're going to multiply both sides by 3y minus 4. If I multiply both sides by 3y minus 4, I will lose my fraction. Now, what am I going to do here, do you think? Don't take a wild guess. You got an X outside of parentheses. What do you think I'm going to do there? I'm going to distribute. So I have 3yx minus 4x equals 2y plus 1. Is that okay with everybody? Now, here comes the really tricky part. We're supposed to be getting y by itself, right? And some of you might say, okay, I'll just subtract 1 and divide by 2, and then I'll have this y by itself. That can't happen because there's another y over here. When you get y by itself, it means you have to have just y. Can't have y's on both sides, one y. So here is what I need you to do. Rearrange your problem so that everything with a y is on one side and everything without a y is on the other side. So just move things around, adding and subtracting, so that if it's a y, it's on one side, and if it's not a y, it's on the other side.
You're going to divide by the 4x.
I'm gonna divide by something, not 4x, but you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Okay, let's get these rearranged before we go to the next step. Everybody okay? Getting stuff switched around? Okay, now that I have them on the same side, I'm going to factor out the y. Now, if I factor out the y, what am I going to have left? If I take out the y, 3x minus 2. Now I'm going to divide. What am I going to divide by that's going to leave me with y all by itself? What do I need to divide by? 3x minus 2. You're exactly right. I'm going to divide both sides by 3x minus 2. And my answer is 4x plus 1 over 3x minus 2. That's your final answer. A lot of work. A lot of work.
That's a tax question, you said? Or,
Guaranteed.
or a quiz question?
Either, yeah, both maybe. And luckily, there's a lot of steps there. I get it's confusing. But there's another one here. So let's do this other one. Maybe it'll be a little bit easier now that we've been through one. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, and when I copy it down, I'm going to do my y. I'm going to put my y in. So here's my problem. Now see if you can stay a step ahead of me. What would you be writing down right now? Next step would be x equals 8y minus 2 over 4x, or 4y, excuse me, 4y plus 1. Remember, even though there's two x's, you still change them both. Now, if you're working ahead of me, what's the next step? Get this guy over here on this side. So we're going to have x times 4y plus 1 equals 8y minus 2. Move this denominator over here. Multiply it over to the other side. Now, if you're working ahead of me, what are you doing right now? We're not ready to rearrange. First, we need to distribute. And then, Clayton, you are exactly right. Then we have this key step. If we want to solve for y, we got to get them all on the same side. So we're going to do some rearranging. So I'll bring my 8y over and my x over here. Watch your minuses. Then what happens? Now that we got them on the same side, we're going to take one out. And when I take one out, when I take my y out, what will I have left in my parentheses if I take this y out here? What will I have here? 4x minus 8.
Would you ever take out like more, like take out 4?
No, because your objective, great question, but your objective is to get y by itself, not 2y or whatever else, just y. So we're always just going to take out y. That's a really good question, because you're noticing I could have taken out 4, yeah, but I don't want to. And then my last step, and I'll be all done, what do I have to do? Divide by the parentheses. So y ends up equaling negative x minus 2 over 4x minus 8. All right, on another piece of paper or somewhere where you can squeeze it in, I want you to work on one with your neighbor. If I have a couple of you that would like to come up and put it on the board, that would be great. Here is your problem. There's your problem, and I want somebody to find, I want all of you to work together on another sheet of paper or someplace where you've got room. I want you to find the inverse of this. And I would love to have somebody do it on the board. Geechee, is that you? And while he's doing it on the board, you're doing it with your neighbor next to you. We're all doing it together. We should be talking about math. Ooh.
That's wrong. I actually like that song. Yeah, it's good.
Unless you want to come up and help you. Your mouth shut.
It's actually fun.
It's actually right.
I actually like the dance.
Trey, you got this done?
Just started.
Okay, we'll get started with Tony. He'll help you. What are you doing, Mr. Rick? Sleeping in gold?
I just seen that thing. You don't have the dance for sweat. I feel like you got the jobs.
All right, let's look at Geechie's answer. Scott, are you done? Well, Philip's nodding. I don't know if Philip actually did it or if he's nodding in his sleep or what.
I might have messed up.
You didn't get that answer. All right, well, we better double check it. Clayton, you got it? You got this answer?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Clayton and Geechie can't both be wrong, I don't think, but let's check it out. So here was the original problem. Step one, we switched our variables. Then he got rid of his denominator, so he distributed it over here. Then he did some rearranging to get all the y's on the same side so he could factor them out and divide. I think I'm voting with Geechie on this one. I think that's right. So if you didn't get that, do you have a question about it? Okay, we're gonna do one more. I need one more volunteer.
Go ahead, Luke.
Not Geechie again, he's already aced his. I need somebody else.
You got it?
Hey, how about you do something in this class?
Yeah,
Besides
it's the
talk?
last one.
Okay, there's your problem. Now, everybody at your seats, you're working on this along with Philip. Let's see if we can all get the right answer. In about 2 minutes, I'm going to give you a piece of paper and you're going to do one for a grade. So let's pay attention.
So that's like 3x minus.
You should be listening in class.
Is that minus 2?
Alright, I don't
Yes.
wanna do it.
If not, transfer out.
And Phil, you knew with us. Well, never mind. Never mind, I got it.
When you're done, Dad.
You said what? Ooh, that's good. Sounds easy without that action.
Hey, Luke, didn't you get with Cassie Brooks?
Did you have a stash?
She was so mad. They texted her and said, hey, why don't
She's mad at me.
Miss Kimmel, they do not need any distraction. Thank you.
Yeah, she did.
No. What step are you missing? You skipped a step. What's the step we skipped? How do we get just one more? Instead of having 2 y's, what do we have to do? Yeah.
Get out of my pocket, Luke. You want some gum? You want some gum?
Yeah.
Do you want some?
That makes sense to you?
I can clean
All right, here's his answer. Anybody match that?
It's in a wrapper.
Megan, matches it?
Is it a wrapper?
I just multiply it by 1.
Yeah, really?
What'd you say, Tony? We multiplied this over to here. So we had to distribute. So he kind of did it in his head. But when he brought this over here, he had to take x times 3y and then x times 2. Then he rearranged. Got all the y's on one side and the other stuff on the other side. Then he pulled out his y and divided.
It's a Y.
There's some snakes.
That's a y.
Don't worry about X's. Don't worry about that.
One of your
That's a
boys.
y.
He's gonna swoop in on her chick. You better tell her not to drink anymore. She's drunk and drink with her.
All right, one more volunteer. Let's do one more. Make sure we got it before we do it for a grade.
Marissa.
6
Go up
minus
there.
2x over 5 plus
Go.
3x.
Luke,
Right, here we go. We'll come up and give this one a
You've
shot.
been talking all period. Go do
Thank
it.
you, Clayton.
Wait, is this the one on the separate sheet?
No, this is, we're doing one more practice, because there's still a couple people that didn't get it right, so we're practicing one more time.
Will we do these problems right here? or no?
Yeah, we're doing all of it. Yes, you need another sheet of paper.
Ride or die.
Huh? Wait, can you step aside so I can see the problem? Here's the problem.
That's selfish. If you don't
That's
care.
what we're finding the inverse of.
We're gonna use say 11 gold.
You guys doing this? Luke, get pencil to paper so you know what you're doing here. Get out a sheet of paper. Here, use this.
You already know what I'm putting it out.
So the first thing Clayton did was switch his variables, X and Y. And what's the second thing he's doing right now? We're just finished. What's the second thing? Multiply his denominator over to the other side and do the distributive property.
Wait, how do you?
You get all Y's on one side.
Do I just put it on top?
What do you mean put it on top?
Or what is it?
Wouldn't it be minus 6? Minus
Well,
6.
see,
minus-
I don't know why. This is X, I know, but it should be X equals, separate that X. See, it looks like X is part of the fraction. So he just multiplied this over here. I don't think so, I think you're okay. I think you're all right. Now, Clayton has done something a little bit different. It is not wrong, it's perfectly okay, but it's a little bit different than how we've done our other problems. Because in our other problems, we put all the Y's over on the left side and all the X's on the right side. Does it matter? Absolutely not. So your answer, if you did the problem and you got this, you are also correct. This is what you'll get if you go the other direction, if you move everything here instead of there. They're both absolutely correct, Clayton. You did a great job.
You have to have all the X's on one side and all the Y's on the other side.
Well, you have to have all the Y's on one side, and then anything without a Y goes to the other side. There's one term that has both. It has to be on the Y's. It's the Y's that are the key. So you've got to have the Y's on the same side, okay? And then everything that doesn't have a Y, like if you look at this right here, I know it's small, you might not be able to see very well, but that term does not have a Y, and that term does not have a Y. So they're going to one side. These two have Y's, so they're going to the other side.
I got negative 5x plus 6 over 3x plus 2.
Okay, this is the same as negative 5x plus 6.
I was just confused because it says positive 5x minus 6.
Okay, now, but he also has minus 3x minus 2. So he's okay with this set, you're okay with this set.
Doesn't matter.
Okay? Luke, stop it. Calm down.
Get a room, man.
All right, anybody have any questions about that process? Okay, with your, yeah, I'm gonna use this green paper. With your partner, so the people you've been working with, put away your notes for a second, just stick them over to the side. You already have a sheet.
You can't cheat off of that note paper.
With your partner that you've been working with,
It's none of
on
your
your
business. I'm
problem,
the next Joey Michelle,
and you
and in
can
this situation, you're
collaborate,
equal.
all right? This will be a collaboration project.
Can we be 3?
Actually, no, 2 is enough. But 2, Graham, you can go back.
Should I turn the recording off, Miss Ford?
And then,
Let me get this.
Should I turn this off?
well,
Was I supposed to turn this off?
no. Did you?
No.
Still on?
Yeah, I almost turned it off though.
Okay, but it probably isn't any more videoing the board, and that's okay.
Oh, I got it.
Remember, these people are, here, I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll do it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's alright.
Did you edit things out or no?
No, I leave it all in there.
Puts it on.
Alright, cool.
Where's my marker that I need?
Yeah, what?
Is this full?
Okay, those of you watching this video, I'm very sorry for all this. We'll just blame Geechee. Okay. Alright, here is your quiz question. This should not take very long. You're working together and you're coming up with the correct answer. What is going on? Here's your question. I want you to find the inverse of this function. Okay, make sure you copy it correctly. We're going to find the inverse of that. You may help each other.
We can share a paper, right? Like with our partners.
I want a paper from everybody so I can give everybody back one, but you can write the same things down and compare answers or whatever is the best strategy for you. Like you two can work together if you want. Okay, now we're not using our notes though. So we're putting our notes away because we were supposed to be paying attention when we did like 7,000 examples.
Yeah, I'm full attention. Are we done with BFS?
No, we're never done with BFS.
That's not a good sign.
Let me see.
Tony, it's gonna show it on the back of the like this.
Oh, no.
Let's not shout our answers out.
Trying to piece my answer, what you guys got, one.
I'm not gonna give the answer tray.
One! Turn around and die. I believe you looking in my eyes.
Instead of bringing the
Yes,
double out of
make
it.
sure your name's on it.
One.
Help, I mean, you guys are.
God, I'm really a child. I need to grow up. I'm about to go to college next year.
You're gonna do that in a good college class, they're gonna arrest you.
And we have one more thing to learn here before we're done, so let me have these papers. We'll run through this real quickly and see how you did. You guys done? You got it? You guys
Dude,
done over here clicking?
you scribbled my answer out. You did?
Oh, I did.
Already.
It's the 100. She was the teacher was getting bonus.
What the? I'm really up there. First time I think I did.
Oh, you did?
What are we doing? I just asked the question. Do you want to go in?
Do the horses trust tomorrow?
Yeah. Wait, who's doing the horses? You or?
We should go back to the
You in football with us? We can see your meal, dog.
Alright, then we'll go, he wants to go do his ass.
Really?
Alright,
Alright,
here
I'll
we
be
go.
there.
I'm gonna do this real quick. Actually, I think we'll go through it tomorrow when I give her back, or the next day whenever I see you again. What I
I'm
want to do
sleeping over Luke's
now
sandwiches. Oh, anyway.
is get
Yeah, my
the
mom's going to Missouri.
next
So,
section
yes, I am.
finished
I'm at Griffith.
on our quiz, or on our worksheets, okay? So here we go. We're gonna get the next section done, and then we'll be done for the day. All right, so we're doing number 2. Now, number 2, each of the questions has 3 parts to it. So we're back on our note sheets. Each of the questions has 3 parts. The first part says, is it a function? Well, you already know how to answer that question. What do you do to tell if something's a function or not? The vertical line test. So, is A function? Yes. Is B a function? No. Is C a function? Yes. It passes the vertical line test. Old news, everybody's got it. Now, the second question says, if I knew what the inverse was and I graphed it, would it be a function? In order to tell if the inverse is a function, you have to pass the horizontal line test. Remember, in the inverse, we switch ordered pairs. So when we were checking X's before, now we need to check Y. Does A pass the horizontal line test? No. So the answer to number 2 in A is no. The inverse is not a function. It does not pass horizontal line test. What about B? Yes, it passes the horizontal line test, so its inverse is a function. You know, these are really simple questions, and you guys are going to miss them. What about C? Yes, C passes the horizontal line test. So to answer the first part, we did the vertical line test. To answer the second part, we did the horizontal line test. Now the third part says, is this function 1-to-1? If you're going to be 1-to-1, you have to pass both tests. So is A 1-to-1? No. It passed vertical, failed horizontal. Not 1-to-1. Is B 1-to-1? No. It failed vertical but passed horizontal. To be 1-to-1, you need to pass both. Is C 1-to-1?
Yes.
Yes. It passed the horizontal line test and the vertical line test. What are you, it seems so simple, and it is so simple, but you gotta remember, 1-to-1 means you pass both. That's what 1-to-1 means. You pass both tests. All right, Geechee, now you can turn it off and hand it to me. Thank you.